Hey guys, so in this video we're going to be comparing the Beltronics GT-7 versus the Escort Passport Max. They're effectively the same detector with different names and different skins. If you look at the display, you'll notice some very obvious similarities. If you look at the case design and the button layout, you'll notice they're pretty much the same. Again, Escort and Beltronics, they're the same company. Escort has just brought this same radar detection platform over to Beltronics, and now this is the Beltronics version of the Escort Passport Max. Now, obviously, you can see some differences in terms of like the case design. The bell is a little bit larger. There's stuff like the voices are different, etc. So what I want to do in this video is basically go over the similarities and the differences. So if you're deciding which one you should get, we'll just kind of go over what the differences are, so you know maybe which one is a better fit for you. So let's do it. In terms of fundamentally, the basic stuff, radar detection, same thing. Laser detection, same thing. They've got all the same features in terms of GPS lockouts where you can just drive around and it's going to automatically learn your false alerts and begin ignoring them over time. They both have GPS, so they've got their low-speed muting. They both have red light cameras, speed camera databases, all that stuff. So fundamentally, the same features are available in both detectors. So what we're going to be getting into is things like, hey, the case is different, the sounds are different, that kind of stuff, right? This guy is also a little bit cheaper, so we're going to go over, pricing and all that kind of stuff too. So fundamentally, same thing under the hood. Okay. So if you've seen any tests on the Max in terms of radar detection, you can basically apply the same thing over to the GT7 because it's the same M5 based radar detector antenna, the horn. So cool. Differences. Let's start getting into those. Price. This guy, it's actually $50 less than the Passport Max. This that I'm using in the video is actually a Max 2. You can see the Bluetooth icon right there. So this is not the original Max, this is the Max 2. The difference between the original Max and the Max 2, the only thing is Bluetooth. This one, for an extra $50, puts Bluetooth inside the detector, whereas the original Max, and now the same thing here, there is no Bluetooth chip in here. So if you want to pair it with your phone for Escort Live, you are going to have to purchase an additional Escort Live cable, not included. Have to purchase it separately. There's a Bluetooth chip in the cable, and then you'll be able to pair the detector with your phone. So this detector does not have Bluetooth built into it. It retails for $500. The Max retails for $550, also does not have Bluetooth. This one that I'm using here in the video is the Max 2. It does have Bluetooth and it retails for $600. So $500, original Max, $550, Max 2, $600. A lot of times they do go on sale. I'll link you to the Amazon pages so you can see what the actual prices are, because depending on discounts and price fluctuations and all that jazz, it may be a little bit different. But retail prices, this guy is going to be the least expensive for the same radar detection and all that kind of stuff. So that's kind of cool. Now, one of the biggest differences obviously is going to be the case, right? You can see this guy has the black case with kind of silver trim around it, whereas the GT7, the Beltronics, has a black case with this kind of bronze trim around it. So the design, this is just going to come down to aesthetics. Which one do you personally prefer? This one has been out for a while. There's been complaints as far as the silver case reflecting in the sun. I've seen that. This guy, because it's a kind of darker material, it doesn't reflect as much, which is kind of nice, but it still is going to be somewhat reflective, especially depending on lighting conditions. Sometimes you will see this kind of bronze color reflected in the windshield. It's a little bit more subtle and subdued than I thought. Originally, I thought it was more of like an orange color when I saw the marketing materials online, but in person, it's actually more of like a bronze, like the fake bronze tanner, like a Duracell battery. It's kind of more of that color, as you can see here. So the colors, obviously going to be different, right? The design is a little bit different. If you take a look at the top of the detectors, you'll notice there are some differences. The Max has a nice smooth top, where this guy has these like ridges up here. They're not functional. It's not like an air intake on the hood of a car for turbos or whatever. It's not that sort of thing. It's purely cosmetic. So you can see we've got these here. And we'll notice also this guy is going to be physically larger than the Max. Again, there's the same end stuff here. There's no functional reason to make it larger, but it is a physically bulkier detector. And one of the easiest ways to tell that is if we put the two detectors kind of face to face like this and we stand them up. So we'll get them aligned just right. And you'll notice the GT7 is definitely a larger radar detection. It's got kind of wider hips there up front. See that? So they're not the same size. Lengthwise, from front to back, they are pretty much the same thing. I don't know if the way my camera's framed, it's going to show up just right. It's tilted and yes, it's just barely out of frame, but you can see the length there. It is the same. So it's pretty much just the width here. Real world, it's not going to make that much of a difference if it's a little bit larger. I'm sure you get used to it and you probably won't notice it over time. But this guy is going to be a little bit physically larger. It's also, you'll notice right here, there's kind of like a more sleek, straight shape where this guy has these kind of extra lines and bends. It reminds me a lot of like a vehicle with fender flares, you know, just kind of this, especially the kind of those aftermarket tacky ones. It's like a little bit wider unnecessarily, and it does make it bigger. So that's kind of what it reminds me of. Again, it's just more of a cosmetic thing. Some people may totally like the look, and if that's the case, get this one. If you prefer the look of the Max, get that one. You know, that's what a lot of this is going to come down to. But there are some other subtle differences. There's things like the display colors. We do have different options for colors. They'll both let you do blue, green, and red. The only other difference is we've got displayed right here. This has a copper, they call it, display, which I've got set right now. And you'll notice it actually suits the display really nicely. This one I have the amber color loaded, and it's very similar. It's a little bit lighter, a little bit more kind of yellow orangey color. Very similar, but not exactly the same color. But otherwise, so color options are a little bit different here. Amber versus copper. Otherwise, it's the same colors. The display, it's actually a little bit farther back as well. This is actually a good thing. This is something that I like about the GT-7 versus the Max. And it's making it a little bit annoying for, like, when I'm creating this video, but in practice it's going to help you. If you notice, I've got the two detectors aligned, and you see how you can't actually see the top of the display here? Like, check this out. We'll go ahead and we'll fire up a radar gun, and I'm going to trigger both detectors here at the same time. Okay. I'm going to talk about the different audio in a second, but notice if I lift it up, you can see the audio or the frequency there, right? So the reason that is the case is the display, it's actually sunken back a little bit farther, and you can kind of tell that here on the video, right? And that's actually a good thing in practice. And the reason I say that is there's been an issue with the Max and the Max 2. The way it's designed is this OLED screen here, it's very easily washed out in direct sunlight. So if the sun is hitting the screen, it's going to be harder to read the screen. So one of the changes when they came out with the GT-7 is they actually sunk the screen a little bit farther back into the display. So again, it's kind of annoying for me, like shooting this video, it's blocking a little bit, but in practice it's definitely going to help. So you'll notice if I kind of rotate the detectors, I'll keep them exactly parallel like this, but you'll start to see how like the GT-7 gets blocked more. It's not a lot, but it is a little bit there. You'll notice where the Max is still visible. Maybe I should do it more like this. Would that be more of a fair comparison, I think? So yeah, that's probably a little bit more fair so you don't get parallax issues. But yeah, so there you go. You can see how the Max is definitely more visible while the GT-7 is more obscured, and that's a good thing. If you, the viewer, you know, from the camera's perspective, are the sun, you'll definitely be blocking out the GT-7 before you'll be blocking out the Max. So because of that, the Max is, this guy here is going to have more issues with the sun hitting it. To the extent that's going to be an issue, I don't exactly know, but I do like that in terms of a change, just to make this guy better in direct sunlight. So the screen itself looks to be the same, it's just sunken a little bit farther back, and I do like that. That's a nice change. The other thing, you heard when I triggered it, the voices are different. Escort traditionally has a female voice. Beltronics has a male voice for their voices. I don't actually like the Beltronics voices, but I love the Beltronics sounds for their alerts, the KA tones, etc. I personally prefer them. Again, it just comes down totally to personal preference. I've heard some people say they prefer the Escort because the contrasting kind of alarm sounds stand out more, and these ones, the bell sounds, may be more obscured by music, while these ones, it's more contrasty with, you know, music, that kind of stuff, whatever. Again, personal preference. I'll go ahead and put up a clip real quick of both detectors going off to K-band and to KA-band back and forth, so you can go ahead and hear the differences in the voice and in the alert tones yourself. So as you can see, we've got some differences here between the two detectors. Pick the one that you prefer. Next, there's also some small little details, like they have the same exact features, but they've changed the name of the features, so there's a difference when there really isn't one. So it's the same features. Like, for example, the way I have the detectors set up right now, they display the frequency, right? You see that up top? I like that. The frequency is very, very useful information. Escort calls that the spec display. In Beltronics, they call it the threat display. So it's the same feature, and if you're watching my tutorial on the Max, for example, you may get confused because some of the features have different names. The GPS lockout feature, for example, here is called auto learn. Here it's called auto lock. So it has the same features, but they're called different things, so it may be a little bit confusing. Because of that, I'll go ahead and redo my tutorial for the detector, and I'll do one for this one. I've already done one for the Max. If you've got one of those, look it up on my channel. I'll post a link in the video description. It'll walk you through how to set it up and what all the different features mean. I'll do pretty much the exact same thing here with the GT-7. The only difference is I'll use this one, and I'll use the Beltronics names instead of the Escort names. But fundamentally, again, they're the same thing. So there's some minor little differences there. The startup time is pretty much the same. Like, here, let's go ahead and do that. What I want to demonstrate here is I'm going to basically power off both detectors at the same time. They're plugged into this like USB port. Oh, this is going to totally mess up everything. They're both plugged into the same splitter, right? So I can run multiple devices. I'm going to unplug the splitter itself, so everything will power off at the same time, and then I'll power on both detectors at the same time. While the detectors are powering on, I've got a radar gun here. I'm going to go ahead and just hold down the trigger, and we're going to see how long it takes for the detectors to actually go off once they are up and running. You'll notice that even when the screen shows that they're booted up, they can't actually alert to anything yet on radar, so we're just going to do a quick comparison for startup times. So go ahead and turn both detectors off, and we're going to go ahead and power them up at the exact same time. Okay, and we've got detectors booting up, and my radar gun's transmitting. There we go. So there's the boot up process. Again, I'm transmitting radar right now, but my detectors are not going off. We'll see how long it takes here. Okay, so as you can see, they're pretty much the same thing, right? Both detectors take a little bit of time. I don't know how long it was, 10 seconds, 15, 20, something like that. We'd have to go back and time it, rewatch the video. You can take a look. But as you can see, they've got basically the same startup process as well in terms of how long it takes for the detectors to actually go off to an alert. The latch is pretty similar as well. Let's go ahead and wait for this alert to die off. This is interesting. I think they're actually causing one another to false alert. Go away. Did it actually just get stuck there? Oh, there we go. Okay, cool. So what I'm going to go ahead and do now is I'm going to trigger, I think I've got TSR off on both. Actually, this could be. So this is something that kind of funny. Random fun fact as an aside, you'll notice how these frequencies are going off. One detector is causing the other one to false alert. It's why when you're testing, you don't actually want to run two radar detectors at the same time. They will interfere with each other, cause false alerts, missed alerts, delayed alerts, all that kind of stuff. So in reality, you're not going to actually want to run two detectors for actual radar detector tests, but that's a different issue. Let's go ahead and just do a quick shot here of KA. Notice they go off at the same time. Okay, and I'm going to let go now. There you go. So there's the latch for both detectors. This one, again, it's the whole interference thing. Okay, cool. But anyways, there you go. So you can see there is a time delay for both detectors to go away. Annoying. This detector is causing this one to false, which is kind of messing up my latch test. Whatever. You can see the idea. They're both going to have a similar latch going down. So there's not really a big difference there, but I wanted to show you that. Okay, here is something that I did see a difference on, and I'm going to go ahead and power the detectors off real quick so I can move stuff around and get rid of that false alert that's happening. But what I saw here, the way the detectors are connected to your windshield, they use the sticky cup. And the sticky cup The way that this works, we'll look at this guy. The sticky cup basically has a sticky pad right here that sticks right onto your windshield, and then it's kind of like a suction cup where you've got this thing that sucks in place. And what I like is this tang here slides directly into the radar detector, and there's no buttons to press or anything. It just goes right into place. And then when you want to release the detector, there's no button to press here either. It's magnetic, so it just pops right out. It's really nice. So it makes mounting and unmounting the detector super easy. I love it. Now, there's been a common complaint about the Max, and that is that it can be pretty bouncy on the windshield. And this does seem to vary. I don't know exactly what it is, but I've seen some mounts are better than others. Like, for example, when it first came out, it was a very big issue. I was actually beta testing with this Max 2 here. I sent it back in, and you can see here it says release still. There used to be a button right here, but they swapped out the top. This case still says release, even though there's no longer a release button. Beta testing it before it came out. That's why it's a little bit different. But they made a change to the mount itself, so it made it much less vibrational. It got rid of a lot of the vibrations. It's not a perfect thing. It still does vibrate to a certain extent, but it doesn't completely solve the issue. But it does solve it mostly, which is good. However, there are still some vibrations, and I noticed a difference between the two detectors. And what I did to kind of see what was going on is I've got two sticky cups. The one that I had with the Max 2, I know definitely, I've ran it with a bunch of other sticky cups before, and I know this one for sure is solid. I tried out the new one that came with the GT-7, and they're the same thing. And I noticed that this detector was vibrating more than this detector was. I was like, is it the mount? You know, what's going on? I've actually got currently a replacement sticky cup coming in from Escort because I reported the issue. They're sending me another one for testing. This video will probably be out before that's in, and I'll put an annotation on the screen if it fixes it or not. But basically what I saw was earlier today I put both detectors on my windshield like this, and I ran them side by side. Only had one powered up, again, because of interference issues. But for mounting testing, what I did was I swapped back and forth the detectors on the mounts. Because the mounts are compatible, you can take them off and put this detector on this mount and this detector on this mount. Really easy, right? So I can see, is the vibration because of the mount or is the vibration because of the detector? And what I saw was there were more vibrations coming out of the GT7 than there were in the Passport Max, no matter which mount was being used. So that was interesting. And this next part is just my guess. It's my own speculation. But what I would think is if, see how the GT7 is just bigger and bulkier, there's like more mass. Like I know it's plasticky up front and whatnot, but I'm wondering if the additional mass and weight up here in the front means that there's more leverage against the mount itself, and because of that, it might vibrate a little bit more just due to this extra leverage and weight. So that's my guess as to why this is the case. Again, this is a very early kind of feel, right? Like this detector hasn't even been officially released yet. This is a production copy that I'm playing with specifically for testing. So I'm sure once more people get their hands on it, we'll get more information. But this is just kind of what I'm seeing in my early testing. I've had this detector for just a matter of like literally days. I got it a couple days ago. So I am seeing more vibrations with the GT7 than I was seeing with the Max. Additionally, another thing that I do want to comment on. The Max has had some issues with 33.676 falsing. This is a problem that no other radar detector has. And the issue is that it will incorrectly report K-band blind spot false alerts as Ka-band, specifically about 33.676. I've seen that exact frequency vary, 36.678, 674, 680, whatever. It's all right there in that range. And what we're seeing, I think it's tied to Chevy vehicles, but not always. Certain cars with blind spot sensors will make this guy false not only to K-band, just like every radar detector, but also this guy will misrepresent him as Ka-band, which means a medium threat K-band signal is getting reported as a very high threat Ka-band signal. So this means you're getting a very high false alert in a sense. You're also, which is a weird way to say it, but you know what I mean. It's also, if you have it paired with your phone for Escort Live, it's going to automatically report that to the cloud, and everybody in the area is automatically going to get alerted to your false alert. You have no way of saying, hey, that's a false alert, my bad, sorry, please don't post it. And once it's posted, you don't have a way of deleting it from the cloud. So what happens is you're going to begin littering the cloud with a bunch of false alerts. And this, I really, really don't like it. It's been a problem in the original Passport Max. It's been a long-standing problem in the Passport Max too. There's been firmware updates that have come out that have not fixed the issue. And now what they've done is they've repackaged the Max and the Max 2 and created this GT-7, and they've carried over the same radar detection platform, and I'm finding that same 33.676 false happening here in the GT-7. And it may not sound like a big deal, but this is probably the one feature which is why I leave this guy in my closet. Like, I've got, a number of different detectors, right? And when I go to reach for one, I generally don't like running this guy because of those false alerts. To be fair, other detectors like the Redline, the Magnum, the V1, even when they're properly set up, they will still get these false alerts, and it's kind of annoying. So it's not like this guy's the only detector, but it's just K-band should not be reported as Ka-band. And I don't have the ability to filter those out, where I do have more control with some of the other detectors to deal with those false alerts even when they arise. So again, to be fair, other detectors have problems with false Ka-band alerts too. So it's not like this is just due to this one. But it's something that I really, really want to see Escort finally address. And if they're going to keep building detectors off of this platform, I want them to actually fix some of these issues, like the bouncing, vibrating mount, and the 33.676 falsing. So I really do want to see that at some point. Let's see what else. In terms of case design, the new GT7 does feel a little bit more solid. Like, this is not a great way of comparison testing, but just kind of squeezing it, it feels nice and solid. Whereas this guy feels more plasticky and cheap. And the reason for that, there's actually a good reason. This guy, you can actually take this black shell, this plastic piece, and this plastic piece pop off. And Escort actually sells different colored cases, different colors and camo and all sorts of stuff. So you can get different quote-unquote editions of the Max. And so sometimes the case will pop off, and people have complained about the detector literally falling apart on them, splitting in half, all that kind of stuff. This one, it feels like, I don't think there's other versions of it, but it feels more solid, which is a good thing just from a usability standpoint. For an expensive as a product as this is, I want it to feel like a quality product. And from the standpoint of build quality alone, this guy does feel more sturdy. So I do like that. So yeah, that's that. Pros and cons, again, coming back to it, I like that this guy's more compact. Again, it's a little bit of a surprise to me, but I like the bronze more than I thought I would. I don't really like these wide haunches here. It looks a little ricer to me, like a little cheap and chintzy, But some people, I know that's totally their thing, and in that case, I say go for it. If this is what you love, more power to you. Do what makes you happy, Me personally, I like something a little bit more sleek and just, I guess, that. So again, it totally comes down to cosmetics. There's no right or wrong here. Just pick which design you want. This guy has the Beltronics tones. This one has the Escort tones. This guy does seem to bounce a little bit more in the mount. This one is a little bit more stable. You do have the different color options where this one's a little bit more amber, that one's a little bit more copper. Cool. This one, the display is sunken in more, so it should help with sunlight for those of you guys who've seen issues. This should help to a certain extent, to at least kind of like the bill of a hat or something, at least just provide a little bit of extra protection from sun coming down. So other than that, price, again, always a big thing when you're looking at radar detectors, or any product, I guess. Retail price, $500. This guy is $600. The original Max without Bluetooth to have more of an apples to apples comparison, right? So it's not quite the same. $500. If this guy was the original Max, he'd be $550. So this guy would retail for $50 less. Again, pick which one you want. If you feel it's worth the extra $50 for the Escort sounds, for the different case design, maybe a little bit smaller, a little bit more stable mount, I would recommend going for the Max. If you want the Beltronic sounds, or you want to save money, or you like the case design here, for example, hey, go for the Beltronics. Totally up to you. But really, at the end of the day, they're the same thing, and we're having to just split hairs on oh, the screen color here is a little bit different than that one. To be honest, this feature's named something else than that. Come on, guys. It's the same detector, right? So there you go. There's a look at the comparison between these two detectors. In the video description, I'll link you to just the general overview of this detector, going over the features that it has. I'll also provide you guys with links to where you can go to actually take a look at the actual prices right now. I know prices fluctuate all the time on Amazon. It's how the internet works. So I gave you guys the retail prices. Go online, just follow the links. Those links do support me. If you go through and purchase a detector, I do make some money. It does help me out with making these videos, so that's a good way for you guys to support me. and go take a look, see what the actual prices are right now, and factor that into your equation as well. And pretty much just pick which one you like. So there you go. There's a look at the GT-7 versus the Passport Max and comparisons. Again, I've had this guy. This is a production unit. I've had it for just a couple days. I'm sure there might be some small nuances here and there that I haven't figured out yet. But these are the things that I've seen so far, and I think these are pretty much going to be the main things. Over time, once we figure out, more updates, more videos, yay! Hop on the forums. All this good stuff is there. So, anyways, thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys later. Bye-bye.